Although I don't see any attendee. Okay, there we go.
Well, no, there's some attending. Um,
Huh. I don't see her either. And she's, wait 1 second.
I don't see her
Yes,
here in
she
the
is.
attending.
Yeah,
Okay,
Theodora.
okay,
In the attendees, yeah.
got it, got it.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being patient with us as we get started. The time is 7, well, we'll say 7:10. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Joel Abreu. I am the chair of business development here at Community Board 12. We don't have quorum yet. We might have one thing that we have to vote on. So, but we do have a list of presentations that are going coincide with what we have to discuss in terms of possibly presenting a resolution. But first, let's introduce everyone. Like I said, my name is Joel Keys-Abreu. I'm the Chair of Business Development here at Community Board 12. I'm going to introduce my Assistant Chair.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Radia Barnes. I'm a Washington Heights resident. I'm born and raised, and I also sit on the Housing and Human Services Committee.
Thank you so much, Radia. Carl.
Hello, I'm a team member. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carl. We might have a few committee members coming in a little late. Hopefully we could get quorum to pass a resolution, possibly. But first of all, first order of business, I want to start with some announcements. The first announcement is I want to wish everybody a happy Small Business Month. May is Small Business Month. Shout out to the life and blood of not just Washington Heights, but all of the U.S. and all of New York. They keep our economy going. So shout out to all our small businesses here in District 12. With that, I want to tell everyone about the Small Business Expo. I'm sure that you guys all heard about it. I'll give you exact dates. But before that, can I get a volunteer to do the minutes?
I'm going.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah. So the Small Business Services of New York City is hosting their annual Small Business Expo. It's going to be on May 29th. It's going to be on it's 415 Fifth Avenue. And this is basically an all-day affair. I went to it last year. All the Chamber of Commerces are there. Different agencies are there, businesses. It's a great way to network. So again, that's on the 29th, 415 Fifth Avenue. The location, it's called Center 415. I'm going to give you the start day. The start time, rather. Okay, it's from 9 to 4. So 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Apart from the SBS's Small Business Expo, there's also the New York City Small Business Expo happening on May 7th. That's tomorrow, from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Javits Convention Center. So another great way to network, more on the private sector. So just register. To register, you just have to go to smallbusinessexpo.com. And you'll be able to, sign in, register, and go to the Javits Center and network with people. They have it's a lot to list, but they have a lot of activities happening. It's a conference, so a lot of keynote speakers from the President of Commerce from GoDaddy to a couple people from Shark Tank, so Constant Contact from Verizon. A lot of people from the private sector are going to be there, so be sure to check that out tomorrow, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Javits Convention Center. Also, here more locally, the Washington Heights Chamber of Commerce is having their annual breakfast, a policy breakfast. I wish Bruce was here to highlight this. But I went to it last year. It's going to happen from, I believe it's 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. And it's going to be right here in this building. It's 530 West 166th Street. And we have a couple guest speakers there from our council member, Carmen De La Rosa. The commissioner of the Department of Small Business Services is going to be there. The Denishal Gross is going to be there, which is the commissioner. We're also going to have Yeshiva University there. So Have at it. It's good to network, meet people in the neighborhood. Again, it's in this building, 530 West, 166th Street. It's going to be from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. I'll be there as well. I will be there as well. So I have one more announcement here. Okay. Well, two, or rather three more announcements. So bear with me. Also, before I continue, I see that we have Mr. Wayne Benjamin here. Please introduce yourself. He is one of our board members, so I want to take that time out to recognize him.
No, thank you, Joe. I am Wayne Benjamin. I chair the Land Use Committee for Manhattan Community Board 12. And also somewhat related to what the Business Development Committee is discussing, I'm on the steering committee for the Washington Heights Broadway bid, which I'm sure Jackie will discuss to you at some point.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wynn. Always good to have you here. Also, you can chime in our discussion of MWB that we'll be having later on this evening. So, Ponce Bank, as you guys recall, Ponce Bank is working on their application to become a banking development district here in Community Board 12. They have as their ongoing effort to kind of their financial mastery program that they've pledged to kind of disseminate throughout the Washington Heights. So they're doing a lot of program when it comes to financial literacy. They're doing a series of protecting your legacy, which is a succession planning event. They have an upcoming one on May 6th. Well, it's actually this whole month that they're doing it. So it's May 6th, May 13th, May 20th, and May 27th. I will put it on the minutes. The first one, it's at 1 o'clock. They're all at 1 o'clock, actually. So May 6th at 1 o'clock, May 13th at 1 o'clock, May 20th at 1 o'clock, and May 27th at 1 o'clock. If you guys want more information, I'll give it to you in the minutes. And you'll be able to sign in. It was actually today, May 6th. It was today at 1 o'clock. But next Tuesday they'll have one, and the following Tuesdays of this month they'll also have one. Again, it's about succession planning. Again, part of their ongoing effort to kind of educate our community on financial mastery, financial literacy. So shout out to them. I spoke to them. Their bank should be open at the end of the month. We're looking forward to them opening on 207. And, this is obviously one of the biggest issues that we have. We're underbanked community. So I'm glad that we're going to have another branch that our constituents can bank in. So in other news, I had the pleasure to it was kind of an event that the Washington Heights bid did with Quisqueya Plaza and a bunch of other business leaders in the area. And they were demonstrating a new piece of technology that the Department of Transportation and the commissioner of the Department of Transportation, Idanis, has decided to kind of beta test in our neighborhood. And this technology is called COCO. Have you guys ever heard of COCO? So COCO is kind of like a last mile delivery service. So it's these little robots. I found it so cool. I gotta show you guys this. So right now, as we speak, it's in Miami. It's in a few other big cities, LA, San Diego, and they want to enter the New York market. And they have decided that Washington Heights is the beta testing grounds, which is pretty cool because it doesn't require like a human to go, right? And it's not like you're gonna be delivering too far. The mileage is between 1 or 2 miles at most that the robot can travel. And this will make sense in a few once I show you guys this. Okay, so can everybody see my screen? Can you guys see my screen? All right. So these are little, yeah, these little robots are gonna be hitting Washington Heights pretty soon. Um, I spoke to the one of the people that are in charge of expanding this technology in the neighborhood. Um, and he said that this is, they're looking to expand this and teach people how to use this and implement it. Have a good one. Implement it with their already adapted Uber or their DoorDash that they already have it connected, and it's fully adaptable to what they have currently. So on their side, they don't have to do they don't have to do a lot. They just have to like turn on a switch. But on the consumer side, what they're gonna do is you're gonna have that option to say, okay, I want a Coco robot um, to kind of deliver my food. It's good because you know it's only one order per CocoBot. So your food sometimes, I know from my experience, it gets cold sometimes when it's multiple orders. I'm gonna have them come in, talk to you guys a little bit about, and talk to the committee about this technology. And it's not just for restaurants. It's they're trying to implement it for grocery stores and pharmacies. This is great news. Something innovative for our neighborhood. I'm gonna have them come in, like I mentioned. It's something that I think will be beneficial, especially like to create more revenue for businesses, especially when things get a little hectic and orders get backed up. This is a great way to kind of mediate that. So be on the lookout for these robots. They're cool. I drove them, by the way. I drove them. It's pretty cool. They're not like automated, but they are the remote. So somebody, and I think San Francisco or somewhere, is driving these things, and they have a bunch of cameras around it. They don't go fast. It's 5 miles per hour. So they obey all the traffic laws, obviously. Yeah, we hope, but they assure us that it's safe. We'll get to ask all the questions we want when they're here, but just be on the lookout in case they launch beforehand. Right? Cool. Just wanted to share that with you guys. I think it's a pretty cool meeting that we had. All right, so that's the last thing that I wanted to mention. Okay. So, for all our coders out there or wannabe coders or like want to transition into learning Python or learning how to make your own app, there's a great program that's happening right now. It's sponsored by Coach Smith. Coach Smith, the Small Business Services, New York City Tech Talent Pipeline. So basically, it's a 48-week program. They teach you 42-week program at no cost. There's just some income regulations that you have to meet in order to be accepted into this program, but they teach you everything there is to become a full stack engineer. I'm also going to include this in the meeting minutes. If you Google Future Code NYC, you'll be able to see it. You can register it before July 14th, I believe, is the. Just want to make sure that, yeah. So it's July 14th that it starts, but applications are due this month. So if you want to look to transition into coding and becoming a software engineer, I think this is a great program. I think the annual salary they cap it at 50,000, but they also pay you to do this. So if you want to transition, it's easier because they're paying you to kind of learn about becoming a software engineer. So Future Code NYC, and again, it's Codesmith. Future Code NYC with Codesmith, okay? We'll include that in the minutes. But now that our OG has arrived, Mr. Bruce. Hey, Bruce, how are you? How's it going? No, you're good. You're good. Please introduce yourself. Thank you so much, Bruce. So we do have, I think we may got quota there. All right. Good. All right. So moving, that's all my announcements. Moving along in the agenda, I want to give the time to Jackie Tesmet from the Community League of the Heights and Mr. Wayne Benjamin to talk about the bid formation. I want to hear a lot about it. I want to hear good news, Jackie. I'm excited about this, so you can take it away.
Thank you, everyone. I'm Jackie Tessman, Director of Community Business Development at Community League of the Heights. Some of you know, a lot of you know, we've been working diligently toward bid formation, a business improvement district, for the last several years on Broadway between 155th Street and 178th Street, with an extension on 168th Street from Broadway to Amsterdam. Wayne is part of our steering committee, Bruce is part of our steering committee, and Theo, who is going to present our needs assessment, is from Perch Advisors, who just came on board this last year, and she and her colleagues updated our needs assessment. But just some background so everybody's aware of what a bid is and what we're trying to do. Okay, so if you don't know what a business improvement district is, and I know that a lot of you do, so I apologize if this sounds redundant to a lot of you, but what it does is it allows local stakeholders such as property owners, merchants, institutions, residents, to take control of the commercial corridors, and through an assessment, maintain the corridors, clean the corridors, bring security to corridors, bring some community events, so on and so forth. It is a very long process. We started in 2022. We are now entering our fourth fiscal year, beginning July 2026. It involves outreach to property owners, it involves outreach to merchants, to all of you, to community board members, to residents, to inform what we're trying to do and trying to garner support. It also includes completing a needs assessment so we understand what the service priorities would be on the corridor. The first needs assessment that we completed was in 2022, and it showed, according to residents and property owners and merchants, the number one and the number two service priorities were sanitation and security. As I said, Perch Advisors just completed and updated needs assessments, and it still shows that the number one and number two service priorities in Washington Heights on those, along those corridors would be sanitation and security. Just for perspective, there are 76 business improvement districts within New York City. 181st Street, that's a business improvement district. 125th Street, West Harlem, and that's a business improvement district. The most recent business improvement district, literally about 2 weeks old, is 125th Street in East Harlem. And we're hoping, we still have a long way to go, but we are definitely moving in the right direction. And we're hoping to make a lot more inroads in the next couple of years. So I'm going to turn this over to Theo from Perch Advisors, who's going to introduce herself. And she will talk about the updated needs assessment. And then me, Bruce, Wayne, and Theo will answer your questions after. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Theo Boguszewski. I'm with Perch Advisors. We are a community and economic development consulting firm. We work with a lot of bids and bids information around New York City. And yeah, Jackie gave most of the context for this, but just some additional context. SBS oversees the bid formation process. As Jackie mentioned, it is a very long process with a lot of steps. We are currently in the planning phase of bid formation, which is really the first step. It involves forming a steering committee, which both Wayne and Bruce are part of. And then after forming a steering committee, we are tasked with circulating a district needs assessment. And really the purpose of that is to understand what people who use the commercial district see as being the challenges and the service needs. You know, and SBS has a certain threshold they want to see. They want to hear from 25% of the business owners within the geography that we're targeting, which in this case is from along Broadway from 155th to 178th, and then along 168th from Broadway to Amsterdam. And so we have been working at this. I just joined in January, but Jackie and her team have been working on this for about 2 years, just trying to make sure that we have the representative number of responses. 3 years, sorry. Is that right? Yeah. Great. So we did hit our metric in terms of number of business owner and property owner responses, which triggered us to conduct this needs assessment analysis, really kind of digging into what we heard from people. We presented this back to the steering committee because they're going to use this to help determine what types of services the bid will provide. And we're sharing it with you guys as well, just because I think it's useful information. So I'll try, it's kind of a long analysis, so I'm going to try to move quickly because I know you are probably all tired. So who responded to the survey? This is the breakdown: residents, merchants, property owners, and others. That other category can be employees who work at businesses in the district. That can be shoppers on the street, anybody who uses the commercial district. Next slide. Do you know what a bid is? So this was one of the first questions that we asked. About 40% of respondents did not know what a bid is. We actually did provide the answer, the definition of a bid as well. What I thought was kind of interesting to highlight here is that 67% of merchants who responded did not know what a business improvement district was. In contrast, 54% of property owners said that they did know what a bid is. So just kind of interesting to point out. Next slide. How do you feel about forming a bid? You know, obviously this is kind of an open-ended question, considering that some of these folks taking the survey just learned what a bid is. But 40% of respondents said that they were in favor. 2% of respondents were opposed or didn't feel that it was necessary. I thought it was interesting to highlight that the majority of those opposed or who didn't think it was necessary were property owners. But in this case, it was only, I think, 3 or 4 property owners. Yeah, next slide. And this is just to add some color to that. These are just some write-in responses from people who said they supported the idea of a business improvement district. So I'll just give you a moment to read these. Okay, and then these are some write-in responses from people who were not in support. These are actually the only write-in responses from people who were not in support, because the number of people in support vastly outweighed the people not in support. But just so you start to understand some of those people who weren't into the idea of a bid. Next slide. So we asked folks to rank their service priorities for the Broadway commercial corridor. Just to be clear, bid services are supplemental to city services. So it would be above and beyond any services that the city would provide. City services are not allowed to be diminished because of the existence of a bid in a commercial district. So as Jackie alluded to, sanitation is the #1 concern, followed by security. You know, and you can see the others are far less. Next slide. So this is just a graphic that shows this in a different way. Next slide. How would you rate the visual appearance along Broadway? About 40% of people thought it was not attractive, 43% moderate, only 9% thought that it was attractive. Next slide. Rate your specific sanitation concerns. So #1 sanitation concern was garbage removal. Just seeing lots of garbage out in the street. And then next being street sweeping, trash can installation and replacement, not enough trash cans, and then graffiti removal. Similar information presented in a different way. Garbage removal along Broadway is the majority of people thought it was poor, but adequate being a close second. Next slide. 61% of people disagreed that sidewalks along Broadway are clean. Next slide. Daytime crime is an issue. only about 30%, 31% of people agreed that daytime crime is an issue along Broadway. Next slide. In contrast, a greater portion of people felt that nighttime crime is an issue. So 55% of people agree with that. Next slide. At what hours of the day is supplemental security needed? There was a both and an either option. 57% of people said both. But then the next up was 28% said just nighttime. So should there be more focus on advocacy with New York City agencies in the following areas? The number one concern here was homelessness. So advocacy with the New York City Department of Homeless Services to do more outreach along Broadway. And then the second concern was illicit activity, so open use of drugs and narcotics. And then other slightly less concerns were parking, loading zones, irregular street vending, so people who don't have licenses who are vending out on the street, and then managing the Broadway median. Next slide. This is just another graphic way of showing the information that you just saw. Next slide. 77% of people agree that they'd like to see a better retail mix along Broadway. So, you know, that can mean any numbers of things. And in subsequent questions, we dig in a little bit deeper to what types of businesses people want to see. So we'll share that in a bit. Next slide. What type of businesses would you like to see more of? Great. So this was a write-in response. There were a lot of different types of responses, but I think that the top ones that we saw were restaurants. I think that people would like to see specifically a wider variety of restaurants and more sit-down restaurants is what we heard. Also supermarkets, coffee shops, cafes. So it seems like generally people are looking for more places that they can sit, that they can meet with friends and neighbors, and they can hang out. Next slide. 75% of people would like to see more community-oriented events. Next slide. So buying, purchasing habits along Broadway, we asked people how often they frequent certain types of businesses along Broadway. So around half of the folks who responded always do their food shopping along Broadway. A little bit less for eating out and getting takeout from local restaurants. About half of the people never do clothes shopping. I'm realizing there's a typo there. I'm sorry for that. Yeah. All right, next slide. More buying and purchasing habits along Broadway. Using hair salons, barbers, nail salons, laundromats, dry cleaners, nightlife venues. So you can see the percentages here. This is just another graphic representation of that information. We asked merchants if they are able to manage their monthly rent. About half of merchants agreed that they were able to manage their monthly rent. 36% were neutral, only about 14% disagreed. We asked specifically to property owners who were responding if their commercial tenants would benefit from marketing support. 57% said yes. We asked specifically property owners what types of businesses did they feel would attract visitors to the commercial district. You know, similar to the other written response, restaurants was the number one response, and specifically a wider variety of restaurants. We also noted clothing stores, wellness, arts and culture, events, bars and cafes, and somebody said antique stores, which was kind of interesting. Next slide. Yeah. So these are the write-in responses, and I have a couple of slides of these, and I wanted to include them because I feel like they really kind of start to lend some color to some of this data that we just shared. So some themes that we saw in the write-in responses were noise complaints, drugs, violence, sanitation issues, particularly in the parks, and then issues with the 168th Street subway, and that was something that was mentioned a lot. So we'll dig into those a little bit more in the next slide. So sanitation concerns, a general cleanup of the Broadway area would improve the entire neighborhood. There has to be community education, or else the attempted cleanliness will not hold. There was lots of mention of educating people who use the district about how to dispose of their trash properly. Sorry, I'm trying to just get to some of the themes here. Clogged drains, causing flooding. Fines for putting household trash in public trash cans. I know that's something that happens a lot in commercial districts all around the city. noise and air pollution, etc. Next slide. Quality of life issues. So as I said before, lots of mention of excessive street noise, homelessness, more lighting. I think that it was mentioned that increased lighting could make the districts feel safer. Specific mention of the 68th Street subway station, and especially the fact that that's kind of the way that a lot of people are entering the district. So it really is the first impression that people get of the commercial district. Partnering with the MTA to clean up the subway stations in general. Somebody said, and it's interesting, I wanted to include some sort of conflicting responses here, because you can sort of see how for some folks perception is reality. In this case, this one particular person thought that Broadway was a very unsafe neighborhood. Then the person right afterwards said that they don't think that crime is a problem. More police officers are not needed, but rather a more welcoming environment that focuses on sanitation and more public spaces. So you can see how people, you might have sort of two different responses to what can be seen as a common challenge. Next slide. More writing responses. These are ones that are focused on public space maintenance and activation. Our neighborhood really needs investment in improved public spaces. The idea of having an outdoor market with live music, the idea of having property owners. I know that there's a considerable amount of vacancies of having property owners host pop-ups in their vacant spaces, cleaning up the park, the need to clean up the park. Yeah, next slide. Anything else you would like us to know? These are just kind of open-ended responses. Somebody mentioned that they used to live in Sunnyside, which is a commercial district or a neighborhood in Queens, and that their commercial district was similar to Washington Heights, but they really benefited from the existence of a bid. The need to support small businesses. There's somebody who felt that a Broadway bid would increase gentrification. So this is a perspective that we might encounter. I think that generally the sentiment here was that people wanted to really preserve the culture of the neighborhood for the people that currently live in the neighborhood. Next slide. And that's it. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Theodora. Thank you, Jackie, for presenting this. First, I'm going to open it up. Where's your new business?
1032 San Nicolas Avenue,
What street is that?
162nd.
So,
Right on, it's Amsterdam, San Nicolas, right where they meet, like,
so
where Ridings used to be at?
yeah.
Yeah.
I think you would be in our bid. We have a resident here that is opening up a shop in where the bid would be, right? 162nd
162nd.
and San Nicolas.
Oh,
No, it won't be.
that won't, no. Well, let's back up a second. It's not a bid yet, and we have a long way to go. So just everybody, please be clear on.
Perspective, I guess potential bid.
Yes,
not
thank you.
necessarily. Yeah,
Potential bid. We're still working toward there.
yeah, absolutely, Jack. Yeah.
The boundaries are Broadway between 155th and 178th Street, and then we have an extension on 168th Street between Broadway and Amsterdam. That's what the boundaries would be.
I thought he said Broadway when I first spoke to him in the meeting. Sorry about that. But no, this is great. I'm gonna open it up to the committee for any questions. I have a few. Questions. Okay. So, go ahead. Yeah, Carl.
Hi, so,
Yeah. Okay. So I'll start. So, how was the outreach done? How did you do the outreach for the survey? How was it conducted?
Well, we had students go on streets and just speak with people at subway stations and at plazas. We distributed it through our newsletter. We have a postcard with QR codes. I put them in businesses all throughout the district, mostly on Broadway and 168th Street, though. We gave it to you. We gave it to the community board.
And it was included in the the newsletters
It
that
was in the
are sent out.
newsletters. Yeah.
We did
It
a
was-
mailing too. We mailed it to property owners and businesses. Do we also mail it to businesses?
Yeah, no, Theo and Perch, they did an extensive mailing, like to property owners.
We did some phone banking too, specifically calling up property owners because they're a little bit harder to reach on the street. And then Jackie, your team was also doing a lot of door-to-door outreach with businesses, right?
Well, that's the only way we got the responses. Yes, I spoke to many businesses. Yes, a lot of them, as you know, I mean, the nature of businesses, they're just too busy. They can't really, chit chat. Not to mention filling out a 10-word survey. But I spoke with about 35 of the businesses that were in the district, and then we had a consultant who spoke with about another 50 nail salons, barbershops, and bodegas. So we have, a decent amount of responses from our merchants. I wish there were more, and there are definitely some that I just couldn't talk to because it was just too busy. But they need to be informed of what we're trying to do.
Yeah, the statistic about the merchants not knowing what a bid is was a little bit alarming. I think I don't know how to necessarily come up with a solution for that. Maybe some outreach and education campaign, something like that. Just because you can't really determine if you want one if you don't know what it is, right? So like that's
Yeah, I think the bid on 181st Street has been there since the early 80s, I guess. So people don't really, they take it for granted because it's been there such a long time. So, but for us, when we're literally starting, we're not starting from scratch because this effort started in 2015.
Right.
And I think Bruce was on board by that. I'm not sure, Wayne, if you were there or not. I wasn't here.
Yeah, actually, the initiative began, I think, before 2015, because when I was with Harlem Community Development Corporation, and I left there in 2014, we provided a grant to the Community League of the Heights to do a feasibility study for a much larger Broadway bid, because that started in the City College area. It started, I think, at 135th, 137th Street, and it came all the way up to 178th Street. And we also explored Broadway and Amsterdam. And what came out of that is, while there was, general interest, the most interest and the strongest prospect was in the Washington Heights section from 155th going north. And the other interesting thing, which is problematic, is how merchants on one avenue or boulevard will not speak to or don't trust the merchants on the other. So the notion of having a bid that included Broadway and Amsterdam really didn't go very far.
That's interesting. So a question I have on the chat is, what was the confidence level of the survey? What the confidence level? Any idea what the confidence level of the survey may be for the survey results? Like, how confident are you of the survey?
They were all entered manually. So,
Okay.
I'm sorry, not all of them. Most of them were entered manually. So,
Okay.
the responses that were included on the paper survey, unless they lied,
Yeah. Okay.
were all registered on it was. I will say this: Google is not. They're not. The data was entered into a Google form, and they can make some errors. So barring that, I don't think anybody faked it or fudged it or put any false information. I guess there's always that chance that somebody answered it and just didn't want to answer it honestly. There's definitely that chance, but we don't have any control over that.
So question I also have in the oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Laura.
Oh, I was going to say some of the questions were also optional too. So we didn't get full responses from every single person that filled out the survey.
Okay, understand. So question I have on the chat is, which schools and students participated?
CHA. We work a lot. I don't know if you know, but Community League of the Heights, we operate Community Health Academy of the Heights on 159th Street. And we really, really try our best to to support students with employment. So they did a lot of outreach. They always do a lot of outreach for us. Whenever we have some sort of survey that we need to do, we hired them.
That's a middle, that's
for
a high school.
students.
That's a high school, right? Okay.
It's a high school at 150, excuse me, 158th Street. Yeah.
Okay. A question I have is, was it done in Spanish? Where the
Yes.
survey is done in Spanish?
Yes, but we had no responses we had one response in Spanish. That's it. It was available in Spanish and English.
Okay. So one question I had about in regards to the supplemental service on the security side, what is an example of like this potential bid and that side of things? Like what does that look like?
Well, we are actually discussing that now. Wayne, Bruce, please chime in. We feel, and obviously, and Theo, we did a lot of research into this, and to see what would be, cost effective and what would be reasonable and reliable. And security guards patrolling the streets just did not feel it's very expensive, first of all, and it didn't feel as if it would be effective. So we looked into Theo, spoke with some other bids and security cameras, optional security cameras that inside of businesses where they can say, yes, we want it or we don't want it, would be realistic. And there is a service that they could connect with a monitoring service. I don't know, Theo, you could add more to this than I can.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so we were actually, one of our steering committee members had suggested the idea of doing a camera program kind of as an alternative to having a contracted service. A lot of the bigger bids in New York City have contracted services. Some of these are called security guards. Some of them are called like safety ambassadors or tourism ambassadors or whatever, kind of different brands of the same thing. But people that provide helpful wayfinding information to people on the street. I mean, these are obviously sort of for more of the tourist districts, but as Jackie mentioned, contracted services are very expensive, and they can't write tickets. They don't have any enforcement capacity. So the camera program is something that a few bids have explored. I spoke with Dale Charles, who runs the Bed-Stuy bid, and they tend to find that it's really effective. The bid pays for the installation of the camera and for the service, and they also have an IT person, and the business signs up voluntarily and is willing to share their footage with the bid and then also with the local precinct. Obviously this is only helpful in seeing what happened after the fact, but I think that there's a certain amount of marketing that gets accompanied, with like you are on camera type thing that might discourage crime from happening. So
yeah, and it's a deterrent also.
And this also goes to the point that was made earlier. It's really important to find out from the property owners and from the merchants what they think would be useful vis-a-vis the services and how they would like to see or what they think would be most effective in terms of security. That's why the survey is so important. And although people are busy, it's important to pull them away from the cash register for a second or from a couple and get a sense of, you're here all the time, what would make sense? And in terms of, security, I know some of the bids, they have people who function more like ambassadors on the street and interface. They're like the face of the bid, interfacing both with the merchants as well as with people on the street. And as I think at one of the meetings, Maria Luna pointed out that we have the precinct council and they can also interface with that. So you don't need to reinvent the wheel, but you can connect with things that exist, and that's an important function that those, whether you call them security or ambassadors or whatever, that's something they can do, because the people who are running the bid in the office will not be out on the street. They will not be the face of the bid.
And to Wayne's point, I mean, I've spoken with other smaller bids that don't have contracted security services, but instead they have a dedicated director of operations who's really focused on public safety. So, paid staff person of the organization who's in the district every day, walking the district, interfacing with businesses and everything that Wayne just said.
I think, Wayne, you were mentioning at one of our meetings that there's an ex-police officer, correct, working on 125th Street?
Well, my information may be somewhat dated because I, just had my 50th high school reunion a couple weeks ago. But I know when I worked at Harlem CDC, and I mentioned I left there like a decade ago, the 125th Street bid had someone who, in theory, was, I think, head of security, but he was former NYPD. But he also was very much, the man on the street that everyone knew.
Yeah. Good. Go ahead, Bruce.
Two things. One is you put somebody in a jacket with a bid label on it, the brand, its presence. The other question is, I'd like to ask Angelina what she has to say about this, because she was the CEO of the 181 bid for a decade.
Yeah, previous executive director.
And I gave her a grant years ago.
She knows a lot.
Definitely bringing back memories because we tried to extend the 181st Street bid, and then we try to create a bid in Inwood, and the surveys and really mainly Dykeman. And the surveys were the property owners really were not interested in it. It was just a really bad timing, just because the rezoning was coming down the pipeline, but hence the birth of the Inwood Merchant Association. So I definitely understand the concept, the pain points, and the fact that you've gotten this far and you've gotten such positive feedback. Kudos to you and blessings. That's really great news. So, but yes, I echo everything that Wayne was saying in terms of security. Sometimes just having somebody in a uniform is enough, right? And yes, a lot of bids don't have the budget. I mean, our budget, Wahi bid, at least when I was there, really could only cover operations, holiday lights, and sanitation, right? So ours we're one of the more smaller, or I was a part of one of the more smaller bids. But yeah, you make your dollar stretch, right? But yes, the uniforms, I think, are definitely a deterrent. Training the sanitation team to be more ambassador-like, and having like that one operations person really is great for that connectedness and that communication and cohesiveness. So I echo everything everybody's saying.
Thank you, Angelina.
Thank you. Yeah, I know you were the executive director of the Washington Heights bid. Hopefully this, doesn't fall through, and it actually,
It's not going to fall
happens.
through. It's going to happen.
It's gonna happen. No, I hope it does.
No, it's going to happen.
It's happening.
Because you don't know Yvonne Stennett, and if you know her,
It's happening.
it's going to happen.
So my question is, what's your timeline? Like, what's the timeline, right? Like, I know what's happening. I have full confidence in
Great
Jackie and the team and the city.
There really isn't, that we need to work on getting property owners on board. We have about, we are moving into the next fiscal year, 25-26. That's definite, which is going to start in July, and that will be our 4th year. But we really need to connect with more property owners and get them on board. That's our challenge right now.
Yeah, go ahead, Theodora.
Sorry, just to continue on the timeline. What we're working on right now is based off the feedback from this needs assessment. We're putting together what is essentially a proposal, right? That spells out the services, that spells out the amount of money that it's going to cost, how that amount of money gets divided amongst all the different properties. There's a couple different metrics you could look at. So we're digging in with Wayne and Bruce and with all the rest of the steering committee. And once we've made those decisions, that information goes on the official support ballot. And then we enter the outreach phase, which was we're going out and trying to collect support signs. And the outreach phase has no deadline. There's not like a date that everybody votes. You're basically just tasked with collecting support ballots until you have 51% of responses from property owners. So as Jackie mentioned, getting the property owners on board is really going to be the big task.
And as Angelina knows,
Yeah.
as we all know by now.
But I am curious. One quick question: what percentage is of the property owners are considered kind of anchors, meaning like Hospital or Columbia? Is it a big enough percentage or not really?
No, but it's a significant percentage. Between New York Presbyterian and Columbia, there are 10 properties, I think.
Mm.
large properties, the
Mhm.
hospital, so.
Go ahead,
and
Bruce.
nursing.
But clarification, SBS this go around, which we didn't have the first time, that Columbia Hispanic Society, Boricua, they can contribute more and participate more than in the past because they're a non-for-profit. But it's up to them to say how much they want to contribute. We couldn't count them in 2015. It was very confusing. SBS has kind of stepped up their game and listened to what we're having to say.
But the other thing that SBS made clear, because, you know, we were going back and forth on how do you find 51% of what? So you can't have like one or two major property owners, and let's say they represent 51% of the tax base, and say because you've got that, you're moving ahead. They want it to be more representative. So, I mean, you know, Presbyterian, Columbia Medical, the Hispanic Society, which wants to remind everyone that they are here and they are a cultural institution and they are, you know, they've all indicated, although they are nonprofits and they would not be required to, you know, they're all talking about, you know, contributing as best they can. But those, you know, anchors, those cultural and business anchors, they would not dominate, you know, the bid. For the most part, the properties in the bid are residential buildings with ground floor retail, which those of you who attend my land use committee meeting know exactly what that zoning is, right?
Right, right.
We're also hoping the transparency legislation would go through so we could pierce the corporate veil and get a hold of some of these owners
Property owner.
who are absentee owners, but that's not quite the case. But I know that Theo and her group have done a great job of finding out behind the screen who owns the building and getting to the people who can make decisions about this, because I know, for instance, I'll just mention his name. Friedland has always been resistant between 157 and 158. He doesn't care about it. His people don't care about it. So, you know, you just got to find the ones who will listen to you.
Yeah, that's important, Bruce, because I know that was an issue. So hopefully that Transparency Act.
We're doing a great job of getting more people this time around.
Good, good. So my last question is here. What can the committee do here in CB12? Help? How can we help? You know, push this along. How can the committee help?
Building owners.
Okay.
Yeah, property owners, building owners, that's really, really our focus.
We need, I don't know how many more we need exactly, but it's just a handful that have to, because you have one property owner who owns 3 buildings.
Got it.
And, you know,
We have about 17%, 15 to 17% property owners on board. We need 51%.
Well,
Got it.
Yeah.
they haven't seen the proposal yet, too, you know, so.
And
I mean-
and they don't know what it's going to cost.
Right. Right. They don't know the services either that this is going to provide. So
I'll let
So-
Theo and
So I you know, once I think that it's the proposal is important, right? It's part of the selling process, see what they're getting, and then in return of, you know, whatever the
guys
cost.
have a concept of what it is.
Yeah,
You know, they
yeah.
just don't want to be bothered because ultimately they don't pay the assessment. They're
The small business.
tenants do, the
Right.
retail stores. So if they have
They pass it on.
if they have a 25-foot space and they're paying $100 a month tacked on top of everything else that's
Mhm.
happening these days, it's a real burden.
Yes.
And
We- yeah.
adding financial
Understand.
cost to somebody's business, especially to all the else that's
Or
going on.
everything else is going on, right?
But
Okay.
while the proposal is important, it's a bit of a catch-22, because remember, the proposal is based upon our receiving feedback and structuring a proposal to include services based upon like what you told us you want, what are the priorities? And so, and you know, I walk up and down Broadway, I do my, my grocery shopping, the dry cleaners, and if I were a business there, and I would see day in and day out, the garbage on the sidewalks, I would say, yes, this is something I want to see enhanced because Department of Sanitation alone, is not taking care of that. So, the going back to how the committee can help, if there's way to pull more property owners, and in some cases, the management companies are key to getting to the property owners. But just understand that this is all designed to enhance and improve, our community. And when I say our, it's the people who live here, it's the people who have businesses here, it's people who own property. No one loses by making the community better. No one, I think, says, I want to come home to dirty streets. I want to come home to places that have, an inadequate mix of shopping. No one comes home to say, I want to come home to some place that, I have to leave if I want to find something that's entertaining to do. I don't
Agreed.
want to live in Times Square, but you might want to be able to, go to a nice restaurant or club or something, in walking distance.
Right, right.
You know, something actually sparked in me, and I don't know, maybe this is the dumbest idea ever, but what would be curious is this. To calculate how much it would actually cost the business owner and how what you're going to do may actually either offset that cost
Yes.
or do more, right? So that, and obviously you'll need to determine what services and what your formula is, right? And then once you determine that, with if there's some sort of square footage calculation, you could say, okay, store A, you're going to spend, $5,000 a year, right? Because obviously they're going to pass the cost on. But those $5,000, right? This is what it's going to go towards: holiday lighting, sanitation services, marketing programs. And we believe, based on all of that, it'll actually impact your foot traffic, where it'll not only offset it, but also, you'll make more money. So that instead of, you could get the business owner to actually try to convince the property owner to want to do this. I don't know if that's a
Yeah.
crazy idea. We never tried that. So.
Gaining support from the merchants themselves with these calculations can, prove your case. In other words,
From the bottom up.
Right,
Top
from-
down.
yeah,
And I recall that we had a discussion in one of our steering committee meetings of the experience of some other bids and how, after the bid was implemented, how it positively impacted the bottom line of merchants after people were all, some people were, reluctant or hesitant, but they saw that the added costs of the bid more than paid for itself with increased revenue.
Like congestion pricing.
Yeah, yeah. So, we'll heed your advice. That's a great idea, Angelina. We'll continue to, outreach on my end, on the committee level, and on the board level, and see if we could get more property managers involved.
And merchants.
Now, and merchants, yes. Go ahead, Carl. We're gonna move on.
Yeah, so I am not, I guess I am not an expert on this subject, but I assume that the membership includes property owners as well as merchants.
Well, go ahead. You want to explain it, Jackie, or Leah?
Sure. It's I'm trying to condense this.
Sorry,
It
what was-
includes all property owners, tax lots, and the merchants who occupy the ground level, the commercial spaces within those properties. So right now, I apologize, we just updated our property owner list and we're sort of going back and forth right now. We have between 97 and 99 properties, okay? And then on the ground level, on the commercial spaces, we have about 302 commercial spaces, but a lot of them are vacant. So occupied right now, we have about 200. I don't have my numbers in front of me, so I'm just remembering this. Occupied storefronts, we have about 200, and vacancies, we have about 40 vacancies. Let's say that. So what it would do is each, you could explain the tax lot thing better than I can, I think. Go ahead.
I didn't exactly hear the question, but the bid assessment comes down to the tax lot, and then that property owner can pass it down to their commercial tenants if they choose. In the case of Washington Heights, you have some of these properties that have 4 or 5 commercial tenants, so they could split it evenly amongst their commercial tenants. But it really also depends on the terms of the lease, and if the lease with the commercial tenant allows for that. But I did want to mention also that businesses get to vote on the bid as well. So it's not just property
Mhm.
owners.
Right.
And
And once a bid is established, the actual board of the bid, I think there are 3 categories of membership, and it's property owners, and I think a majority of the board has to always be property
Yeah.
owners by law.
That's
But you
right,
have
yeah.
property owners, you have merchants, and I believe there's a category for residents as well.
Yeah,
And
there's
elected
one,
officials.
one,
Yeah.
yeah.
Or-
Yeah,
It has to be the board, you know, when we become a bid, okay, the composition of the board are at least 7 property owners, at least 1 merchant, at least 1 resident, and then city officials are automatically have a seat. So the borough president has a seat, the controller has a seat, the council member has a seat, and the council member needs to, so legislatively, the council member needs to be on board, because ultimately you don't become a bid unless the city council votes that you are a bid.
We don't have a problem with that.
So
No, Carmen is very supportive.
I'm kind of curious about
Go ahead, Carl.
I'm kind of curious about the qualification for the individual members, folks who are not folks that you designate residents. You know, how does one qualify to?
So they're talking in regards to when because they're not at this level yet. Or at this,
But I mean, I'm trying to get a general sense of.
They have to live on Broadway. They have to live.
Oh,
They have to
okay.
be a resident. Yes, they have to be a resident within the bid area. So in other words, you know, we have on our steering committee, we have 2 co-ops. And
10 Broadway has 5 stores and has a whole bunch of co-op owners, and they've all signed on.
And they are financial contributors.
They would be ultimately, yeah,
when the bid forms, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So that's a good example of a co-op that has 5 commercial spaces that are fully functioning, and the building will get assessed, and they'll work out a deal with their tenants. Could be a triple net lease where everything's passed through to
The commercial tenant.
to the commercial tenant, right? Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jackie. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Theodora.
and
Wayne.
thank you for your patience, Angelina and Kenya. I know you're waiting.
Yeah. Thank you, Angelina. Angelina, you are our next speaker. You are the previous executive director of the Washington Heights bid. You're also a leader in the Dominican American Chamber of Commerce. And you have now formed your own consulting group, the Amblin Group. And, you know, I invited you today because we're, you know, besides talking about the bid, we want to talk about MWBE and the renewal of Executive Law 15A, which is the umbrella law for here in New York State for MWBE, the MWBE program. But I kind of want to know about the Amblin Group, about a little bit what you do, and then we can pass it on to Kenya. Kenya is also here. Thank you so much, Kenya, for being patient with us. She's the executive director and founder of New York City Women's Chamber of Commerce. And we can also talk in detail about the MWBE certification process. And Jackie, I know that you do some MWBE certification, so you can stay on and we can have a discussion about it. But take it away, Angelina. Thank you.
Yes, and I for sure, because Kenya is definitely, as they say, the queen bee. So I'm going to let her take the lead on policy because she played a very, very important role in both New York City and New York State in the development of the laws. So for sure, I'm going to let her speak first and then I'll follow up on that piece. But in terms of what I do, yeah, I started the Amblin Group approximately 5 years ago after I left the bid. And you know, when I first started, my career started in marketing, and I continued doing marketing, and I got certified as an MWBE and leveraged that certification to get marketing contracts. But at the same time, somehow my company also started certifying businesses. And so fast forward to today, I really consider myself a business development firm. And yes, it is with marketing and MWBE certifications. A lot of what I do is educational in nature. I partner a lot with Kenya, and I'll let her talk about her wonderful program, contract her. But I do educate because a lot of people are only aware of New York City and New York State certifications, but there's over 150 certifications nationwide, and a lot of times people don't get the right certification. So I'm there to help them determine which certifications make sense for them. I help them get certified, and then I train them on how to do outreach, how to get contracts, the different types of modes of getting contracts. And then I partner, like I said, with organizations like Kenya. But I also have a podcast called MWBE Times, where I have subject matter experts like Benjamin, like Wayne's old boss, Curtis, was on my podcast a couple of years ago. So it's really rewarding work, and there's a huge need for education because a lot of people get certified and then they truly are scratching their heads. Now what, right? So that being said, Kenya, I'll let you, take the lead now.
Thank you so much, Angelina. Looking forward to your discussion here. Kenya, thank you for joining us. Tell us a little bit about, I mean, most of us know what New York City the New York City Women's Chamber of Commerce does. Tell us a little bit about what they do and, what they do in terms of MWBE certification.
Yes, so we are the New York Women's Chamber of Commerce, not New York City, but city and state wide. We are an organization that started with just formed to help women entrepreneurs connect, do networking, advocacy on behalf of women entrepreneurs. And we started in 2002. And in 2007, we became what is known as an MWBE leadership organization, contracted by the city and also by the state of New York to help women and minority business owners become certified and then build their capacity to do business with city and state. We are big in the advocacy world when it comes to the MWBE. We have worked with the state to pass what is called Article 15A, which is the MWBE law of the state. And then with the city, with what is called Local Law 1, previously Local Law 129, which is the MWBE law of the city, because the state has its own law and the city has its own law, and they both have their own certification when it comes to MWBE. We're hoping that one day they're going to consolidate that, but we have been trying for years to get them to do that. So that way there's only one application instead of two. We got close to it. I think it was last year, but we're not there yet, but we'll keep trying, because one of the things that we do is work closely also with other organizations in that space, with the elected officials, to look at the law and see how we can improve to make it easier for our MWBEs to be able to access the contracts, because it is difficult. It's not the easiest thing. The easiest thing really is getting the certification as an MWBE. It does require a lot of documents, but it's really the first step. And I think it's easier than really getting the contracts, because that's the reality. That's a lot of steps to get in, to getting there, to just to learn how to navigate for instance, the 50 majoral agencies that provide contracts. And then you have the authorities like School Construction Authority, like the MTA, which are separate from the 50 majoral agencies. And then you have the state agencies. So it's a lot. It's a lot out there. But what we don't have enough of is certified MWBE companies. The city has 10,000 right now. I don't remember how many the state has. So that's something that we're always promoting, is to get our women and minority businesses become certified with city and state, because it's an opportunity. You know, it's a tool that is giving to women and minority business owners to be able to get the foot in the door. Anybody could be a vendor with the city and state of New York, but I always say that the city is and the state, when it comes to contracts, those are big oceans with a lot of sharks in it. A lot of sharks in it. So if you're small, you're going to be in, you're getting there just as a regular vendor, you are going to be eaten up by the sharks that are in there that, have a lot of money, have a lot of resources. So that's why the MWBE programs were created. So that way it puts our women and minority business owners, small contractors, into a smaller pool. So that way they're only competing really with each other. They're not competing with that ocean of contractors, big contractors that are there. So the opportunities are there, but a lot of people don't know about it. They don't know that these, opportunities exist, or they might know about it, but they don't know how to go after those opportunities. And that's why the New York Women's Chamber exists. That's why we partner with people like Angelina to help our MWB firms navigate that space, be able to build their capacity, learn how to go after those contracts, connect with the agencies, connect with the people that do the buying for the city and state. And also to bring the MWBs into the communities. I'll share this with you. I worked, I think it was last summer, right, Angelina, with the People's Theaters Project, where I knew that they were going to be, building the People's Theaters Project. And I reach out to Mino and I say, hey, what are you doing in terms of MWBs and bringing them, making sure that they participate? And they have hired an agency, but the agency wasn't really did not know much about the community, did not know much about the MWB firms that were in the community. So we partner up with them to help make that happen. And we were able to bring in 22 firms, MWBEs, that are now being considered for the job. I think 11 of them have been selected. And what happens, and I give, kudos to Mino for doing that, because a lot of times the firms, the construction companies or the developers, they don't want to deal with too many small firms. So they rather just pick one or two that are, MWB certified companies that are most of the time doing really well, because they don't want to deal with, too many small firms. So, Mino being from the community and understanding how important that was, work with us to make sure that the project had more than just two MWB firms coming in, but the contracts were broken down into smaller contracts to allow for opportunities for other MWBs, which is something that we do. We will go in also and work with the developers and the construction companies, and some of the organizations in the community boards, to make sure that those opportunities are really make accessible to our small MWBs.
Yeah, that's awesome. And one of the reasons why I want you to speak today is because I know that the Executive Law 15A is up for renewal this year.
Yes.
So on the board level, what we wanted to do, and we spoke about last month and the month prior, is to encourage our policymakers on certain improvements that they can, maybe take heed of to help our small businesses, especially like the small fish, right? Like people who are just starting out. I was able, and I told the committee this last month, I was able to sit down and watch the the testimony. I think it was like 2 months ago in New York State Assembly, and they discussed the executive law 15A, and some people had some suggestions on what it could be improved. Now, you deal with a lot of businesses and a lot of certifications. What are some suggestions to make the process easier, or what do you think needs on the state level? I know that there's the city level, and each individual agency has their own certification process, but on the state level, what do you think could be improved upon?
Before we go into that, just want to mention, Mr. Chair, that we do have an advocacy day coming up on May 21st, where we will go up to Albany to advocate for the renewal of Article 15A and also for the changes. So if you have any suggestions, if there's something that you want us to, to bring up, just, please let me know, because we will be going up there for that. One of the things that is happening too, unfortunate, is that, as you are aware, the challenges coming from the White House when it comes to DEI, as they call it. I always refer, I have never called it DEI, I always call it MWB, because it's been around, this advocacy on behalf of women and minority business owners and minority businesses before DEI came around.
1969.
Yes, exactly. So, but that's the Article 15A. It's being challenged by the White House, by the federal. It's being sued. The state's being sued because of Article 15A. So that's another a challenge, a bigger challenge that we have to take on to make sure that we continue, that our programs continue to exist, because they're very important to us, to our small businesses. We are one of the largest, one of the states with the largest number of minority business owners. And it's very important that those programs continue to exist. So that's a big challenge that we're facing.
Okay, that's important. And maybe in the resolution we can mention that in the committee. I think we should, just because about the advocacy, right? So that's why I brought Angelina and Kenya to talk about it, because I think they're and also Mr. Wayne Benjamin to talk about it, just because I think it's important, just because of what's happening on a federal level, to kind of urge our assemblymen, our state senators, to push this along, even though they're having issues. And also there's improvements that can be made. And I think that on the board level, we can offer these improvements, these suggestions, and maybe send it up the chain. I know that there's certain things that I'm going to ask. I just asked Kenya about some improvements that could be made, and that we can include in the resolution. For the renewal. For the renewal, is there legislation right now for the renewal? Because I know you said there's advocacy for May 21st. So the renewal is up to vote for, right, Kenya?
Yes, because what we did, what they did was extend it, but not renew. So it is up to renewal, because what the governor did was just extend Article 15A for another year, but the renewal hasn't happened yet.
And one of the things I mentioned, I think last month or the month before, when I attended, I think for 5 or 6 years I ran DASNY's MWB program downstate. And when it comes to Article 15A and its renewal and extension, when the Business Development Committee is looking at making suggestions for improvements, something to be really mindful of, as Kenya pointed out, it's not only that the White House is challenging it, because before this White House, there are others in the business community, or in some cases in political circles, who are not supportive of 15A. So how it is written, how the actual language that goes in there is really important. And the consultants that have worked with the state to structure it, I think it has been challenged, and those challenges have never been successful. So it's important, as we're talking about improvements, to be mindful that you need to always have in the back of your mind, someone is going to attack this, and what do we need to do to make sure that it is written in such a way that it is legally solid?
Understood. That's
Now, where do we get the language for that?
that's
Well, those are the, as I said, the state has worked with, I think, a particular consulting firm over the years, and their work has been challenged, and those challenges have never been successful. So, as I mentioned, there are, state agencies who you could probably, touch base with, the MWB officers. But the critical thing is, in making suggestions, just be mindful that there are folks who are not supportive of minority and women-owned business participation, and you need to be, mindful, prudent, conservative in, thinking about what you say, because you don't want to open the door for someone to get an easy way to come in and attack the program.
And they may have language in.
yeah. Can you maybe do you have language of things that you have suggested, or someone in your organization has suggested, and for the program, maybe that you've talked to like policymakers, in specifically on this topic of language?
Yeah, we do, and I can share that. I don't have it right here in front of me, but we do, because we do work, as Wayne said, we've been working on this throughout the years. We do also work with other advocates that are part of it, including some of the legislators like Assemblywoman Ranice Pasha and James Sanders, that have been in this space for, especially Senator Sanders, in a very, for years now. So we do work and we do come together. Reverend DeGraff, Elizabeth Ellis, all of us, pretty much.
Their coalition.
Yeah, so I would share that with you. I will, take a look at what we're looking at right now, and share. Happy to share that with you.
Yeah, I guess you could look at it as like a vehicle to another advocacy group, in a sense, because I think that what Wayne was saying is, excuse me, what Bruce is saying is, there a coalition that's formed, and is there any way that in the language of our resolution we can support that coalition?
Of course. Appreciate that.
Yeah. So. And maybe you can talk a little bit about, Kenya, about the suggestions, because I know there was some suggestion that was spoken about, and maybe I'll read you some off and see if it was included in the language of maybe the coalition that you're speaking of. So one, a mentorship program. I know that me and you, Angelina, spoke about this. Maybe some incentives for prime contractors to use other MWE subs. This is important because prime contractors usually establish relationships with one MWBE and don't allow for the expansions of others. So I think that when we spoke about this, Angelina, we talked about maybe including some incentives for these primes to use other MWEs. So mentorship program incentives. We also talked about outreach and education campaign. You mentioned this, Kenya, that we need more applications, more certifications, and I think outreach is probably or education campaign is probably the best to do so. So these are like some of the suggestions that through my research I've come across. And the last one that I saw that was kind of important was it's kind of unfair that some of these certifications ask for you to be, let's say, like if you're being like let's say you're like a plumber, right? for the person applying for this, the decision maker of that company to be certified in plumbing. The reason why is because somebody who is running an organization or a company may not be certified, but is very good at managing people and managing the business and can hire a certified plumber. So some of the legislation is written in a way where the person who's applying and the decision maker is supposed to be the certified.
Yes.
Uh,
I've experienced that with clients where they've
Yeah.
gotten the women, and it's really with women-owned businesses,
Mhm.
they've gotten denied because they are not licensed in that particular industry, right? You don't, that's especially, I don't know why, electrical companies. It's happened often that the women. The other thing I would suggest is also payments, right? Um, and I feel like it depends on the agency. Maybe Wayne can shed some light on this one, but for example, I have a contract with the Museum of the Moving Image, and they have a Red Sea, and I get monthly audited, asked if I've been paid by the museum, right? Which is great, right? So Red Sea, Regional Economic Development is on it, making sure that me as a little sub, I'm making my money and I'm getting paid. But not every agency is like that, right? And some businesses have like refused to go down the government contracting because it takes too long for them to get paid. Literally, like I said, Kenya has that wonderful program, Contract Her. And last week, week 11, we had access to capital. And so the first half, we were talking about best practices, right, on how to get loans, how to get grants, making sure that you don't wait till the last minute to get a loan, right? Get that line of credit before you need it. But then the second half of that class, we had people from Bach and and representatives from Bach and Ponce who were amazing, talking about all the programs they do. But again, money is really the way businesses grow and access to money, right? And so if a business does not, have the financial wherewithal, the money to be able to, because you have to shell out the money and then you get reimbursed. But if you're not getting reimbursed, 90, 120 days, that could negatively impact the business, right? So that's why they need access to capital. That's why they need lines of credit. That's why they need relationships with banks. And that's why Ponce and Bach were so instrumental. Bach was actually talking about a really great product with New York City, very low interest, specifically for businesses that have a contract, right? And they could prove they have a contract, and so they have access to this money. But that's another, in my opinion, right? I think that adding, if it's possible, right, advocating for on-time payment, because a lot of businesses aren't getting paid on time.
Yeah, on-time payments. Yeah, for sure. Kenya, go ahead.
Yeah, that's a biggie. And one of the things that I have said to them many times is that they should have more organizations that provide financing involved with the city, both the city and the state, when it comes to financing some of the projects, some of the contracts, sort of like the Fund for the City of New York, the Fund for the City of New York. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Fund for the City of New York. When a nonprofit has a contract with the city, the Fund for the City of New York can lend money. I think it's a 1%, something like that, or less than that, to the nonprofit. And the nonprofit, when the nonprofit gets paid by the city, that money gets, paid back to the city. And I think it's time, and I don't understand why they don't have that for the MWBEs. They should have that for the MWBEs.
Yeah, especially to get proof that they have a contract.
Exactly. If they have a contract, they have a contract. So, and that contract can be used as collateral for a loan. And also, we have conversations about being able to at least get 25% upfront of the contract. The federal allows that. I don't know if they're, yeah. So the city and the state should also be able to do that. If you get a contract, pay me a retainer. Give me at least 20%, 25% of the money, so that I can, I can work on the contract. So things like that. Insurance, sometimes also it's a problem. The very high insurance that they ask for, sometimes
Bonding. is hard.
bonding, yeah. So, and that's why the mentorship programs are important, because in construction, the mentorship programs will support, in terms of bonding, insurance, but not everybody's in construction. So, and which is a complaint that we get, as you know, Angelina, a lot, that a lot of programs are tailored to construction, businesses that are in construction, including the mentorship programs, but not much is really tailored to other industries. And yeah, and the city and the state do buy from other industry. The state, Article 15H, show it's really covers all entities that do business with the state, including nonprofits, which a lot of people don't know. And that's another thing. It's like the nonprofits need to really let MWBs know, and do more in terms of outreach, because a lot of people don't know, a lot of businesses don't know that nonprofits also have utilization goals if they're doing business with the state.
That happened with me with the Washington Heights bid and Harlem CDC.
Yeah.
I got a grant, and 30% of it had to be spent
Yes,
with
yes.
MWBs.
We get that built into our contract with the city and the state, but a lot of nonprofits don't, they don't really go for, I think they don't do enough efforts. They don't put enough efforts in making sure that those contracts go to NWB, and the whole also situation with the waivers, how some of these major, nonprofits and major corporations get away with these waivers, saying, oh, we can't find any MWBE. So, where did you look for them? Because they're there. So it's, show me, and it has to do again with also empowering more community organizations that work with the MWB, that work with the businesses, making sure that, and especially with the state, because the city does more of that, where they do contract organizations like the New York Women's Chamber and other organizations to work with the MWBs, while the state doesn't have as much representation in the community when it comes to that. You tell me, like you see more of city agencies in the community than you see state agencies in the community when it comes to MWB, right? Like you see Commissioner Dana Shaw, for SBS, you see the SBS people a lot, their team. The same doesn't happen with the state, I have to say. So I think that they need to really double down on their efforts there has to be something where it's more connected to the community in their efforts,
Yeah, for sure. So I have, so insurance and bonding, big box and big corporations getting waivers, being more strict on those regulations, maybe financing the mentorship programs. So all of this are like great suggestions, and like Wayne mentioned, we want it kind of in a way that legally it's something that we can present and something that we can write in a resolution, so we can vote on it, because we want to advocate for this. This is a community that is a large part can benefit from MWBE.
Yeah.
And I think that if you send that to us, we'll look at it, we'll pass a resolution, and we'll encourage our assembly members to do so. Heeding Wayne's advice for it to be written in the correct way, and also including all these kind of suggestions that we have could really prove beneficial, especially for gaining momentum into renewal.
And I'll tell you, one of the things I also look at is not just MWB, but local businesses, in the sense like we want the MWBs, and we want them to be local if possible. So if there's a project happening, in that community, that we should also have numbers when it comes to that. It's like, okay, if you're going to buy food, we want you to buy from the community. If you're going to buy, if you're going to use a hammer, go to the
Local warehouse.
yeah.
That same argument, just to go back with the bid, right?
Mhm.
You need to tell the residents, like, we are fighting to create this bid, right? And it's going to be tough, but you're going to get a lot out of it. You need to support these businesses to cover the cost, right? The same thing with what Kenya is saying from an MWBE standpoint, right? The local piece, SBS, New York NYC SBS has a local certification, right? And that's used a lot by the JFK airport. Like they allocate a certain percentage of the contracts to the businesses in the zip codes around the airport, right? I think I told Kenya last year, I was so disgusted when I heard, I have a project doing SNAP education for an organization on Long Island. And they said, yeah, but you have to already use existing marketing that was created by the state. And they're like, yeah, and it was a marketing firm out of Massachusetts that was selected, that was given the contract to create the marketing materials for New York State. I'm like, what? With all how many marketing firms, how many big agencies exist in New York State?
Yeah.
And you are now, mind you, I get it, right? I've certified businesses that exist outside of New York State, and they go the extra step to become a foreign business to be able to do this in New York. And I get it, you can get contracts. But the fact of the matter is, we are paying our taxes. We are businesses here. You should give the majority of the business, assuming the capacity is here, right? If it's some unique, patented innovation that doesn't exist anywhere else, and you have to use a company or from outside of the US or outside of New York, I get that. But a marketing firm? Come on now. So yes, to Kenya's point, every avenue should be exhausted before we use companies that exist outside of New York or whatever the jurisdiction is, for sure.
Agreed. Wayne.
Yeah, just something I want to also reiterate, because in order to do any of this, Article 15A must exist. So it's from my perspective, what the community board, following the lead of the committee, would need to do or need to look at a resolution that first and foremost advocates for the renewal of 15A. But then at the state level, once 15A was put in place, it is Empire State Development that has the responsibility for rolling out and implementing the program. So a lot of what we're talking about is, how is the state's program in terms of setting goals, in terms of certifying people, how is that implemented? So there are two things that we need to look at is absolutely positively, governor, everyone else, fight to maintain, to renew 15A, but then this is how the program is currently implemented, and these are improvements or things that we recommend to improve how the program is rolled out and implemented. Because absent 15A, there's nothing to improve. You have no legal basis. You have nothing to do.
I'm that completely understand that way. So would you suggest that it would be two resolutions, obviously apart, right? One to renew it, right?
No, it could be in one resolution. But I'm saying don't. I mean, as one of my colleagues who actually worked, he was one of the analysts, said, don't get it twisted. It's like, we want to say 15A must be renewed, and once it's renewed, New York State through Empire State Development, which is the agency that has the responsibility for implementation, these are the areas that businesses and advocates have seen as being problematic, And these are suggested improvements to how that program is implemented. But the first and foremost, you need to have the legal ability to even have the program.
Got it. Thank you. This was a great discussion. So on the committee level, what we'll do is, since we have some suggestions and we also have Kenya's document that she's going to send to us, we can review it, come up with a resolution, especially now that we know that the governor has extended and renewal. Now we have some time. It gave us some time to kind of advocate for the renewal, which is it's good news.
We can do this in June.
Yeah, we can do this in June. Once, not necessarily. Not how long has it been extended to Kenya?
I don't remember. I have to check.
Is it a 1-year extension?
I think it's a 1 year. I think it was a 1 year extension.
So now now our advocacy is not so rushed, because the reason why we were doing it so in a rush and we wanted to get this done before June is because July was the deadline. But now that Governor Hochul has extended it, we have some time. So
you still want to get it on the radar because when campaigns start, people will start focusing on other things. So get it in front of their face now.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, we're not gonna.
The Albany session is over June 1, and then it comes back in next January. So June, I would say June is a good time to get it done.
Okay. So would you suggest that we vote on it today?
Yeah.
And the only thing is that we don't have
The language.
the language.
So we can vote to do a resolution.
So
You have
okay.
another meeting though. So yeah.
Yeah, we have one more. Yeah, we have.
You can present the reso in June.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, so we could vote on it now and present it in June. Is that what or vote on it in June and then we could present it at the June general board?
Well, I don't know how the committee typically works, but for something like this, I mean, do you want to have the language in front of you so the committee is clear what it is you're saying? If that's the case, you can get the information from Kenya and you can massage it and have it on the agenda for June to finalize it, and make sure that you have quorum, beat them over the head, so that you can present something for the board to adopt at the general meeting in June.
Is everybody okay with voting on it now and looking at the language throughout the month, or would you like the committee to see the language first in June?
Why don't you give us a clear language?
Okay. That's fine. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we'll get the language first. We'll talk about the language, the suggestions, and then we'll vote it on June, and then we will present it in the general board in June. Just so everybody's clear, especially it being so challenged.
We meet the first Monday in June.
Oh, good.
Tuesday, I mean.
The first Tuesday in June.
Yeah.
So, okay. And when does the session end over there in Albany?
June 1, but who knows this year?
Okay.
We still haven't passed the budget.
21st.
Yeah,
Okay.
but the good thing is, the elected officials will be coming back to town and you'll have more opportunity to network and coordinate with them once the resolution is passed to advocate for it so that when they're back in session, it's already something that you've put in their ear.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. So I'll make sure I beat people. Well, we have quorum now. I think we need one more person, but
Yeah. Oh, look. I mean, I think we are better off having a clean draft in June. Vote on it.
agreed. I agree with you. Yeah.
Otherwise, we could do some piecemeal work. Maybe authorize it today and then wait for the language. But it's sort of messy.
Yeah. I agree with you. I understand you. But I thank you so much, Kenya. Thank you so much, Angelina and Wayne, for such a novice person that's new and never done MWBE to gather great minds together and kind of get this discussion going. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of it.
Pleasure. Good to see you, Wayne.
And you too.
Thank you.
So I before you guys go, we do have someone else that is presenting, but I want to ask you, you two, some questions. What besides MWBE, what does the Amblin Group do? And besides MWBE, Kenya, can you tell us a little bit about what NYC,
Yeah.
Women's Commerce does? Just to get it on record, and you know, because we here at the committee level, we're working on a business resource guide, and we want to include the Amblin Group. We want to include the New York City Women Chamber of Commerce in our business resource guide. So I guess Angelina could go first, and then Kenya.
Yeah, we are a full service marketing firm, right? So we have contracts with government, DOE, nonprofits, universities like Stony Brook, museums, small businesses, and corporations. So, you know, marketing for sure, branding, digital, email. So we are a full service marketing firm. And then on top of that, yes, we do the MWBEs in terms of the certifications, and then I teach how to do marketing and outreach.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Angelina. And Kenya?
So we are a one-stop full service provider for small businesses, not just for women, because again, we work also with the MWBE, but not just certification and helping them access contracts and navigate government, but we also help with business planning, financing if they're looking for loans, connecting them to government agencies if they have problems with inspections, if they need permits and licenses. We are a partner of New York City Department of Small Business Services, and also ESD, Empire State Development Corporation, when it comes to providing services to the small businesses. For instance, we have a program called Labra, which is really for Latino and African American business owners, recovery assistance, working with those businesses that are still affected by the pandemic, where we provide training, and we also provide one-on-one assistance provided by different experts in different areas. We do a pitch competition when the cohort graduates, where we provide a $5,000 grant to the winner. So, for that program, we work with the businesses in Upper Manhattan and parts of Queens. So we pretty much, and then those that services that we don't have, we refer them to the different partners. We work with Ponce Bank when it comes to finance. We work with Ascend Us. We work with Bach Capital. So we work with different organizations as well to help the business owners, whatever their needs are. We do a lot of educational programs on how to start your business, on how to market your business, how to read a contract. We also provide pro bono legal assistance through Legal Aid, the Lawyers Alliance. So yeah, we pretty much act as a small business development center, and we are located. Our office is right there on 130 between 135th, 136, across the street from City College. And a lot of our clients are in Harlem, Washington Heights, Inwood, Marble Hill.
Thank you so much, Kenya. We've never met. I mean, I think I met you once, but you're like famous when it comes to business development here in Upper Manhattan. Huh? We have the same last name. It's great to finally meet you. And thank you so much, Angelina, for connecting me. You guys are both doing great work. I appreciate all the help and input into this conversation. But you guys will be included in our business resource guide that will be coming out sometime this year. Just so we can, any businesses that are coming to the board and saying, hey, I need help with X, we can refer them to, their Y. So
just very quickly, we are also the organization behind the Taste of Harlem, the Explore West Harlem Guide, that we put out a guide promoting the small businesses in Harlem. We do the Taste of Harlem, which is a big event that we do with the restaurants in Harlem to help promote them. And we're hoping that we could do the same in Washington Heights, something that I've been in conversation with Carmen de la Rosa, because the Explore West Harlem, we have a guide that we put out where we promote the small businesses. And the guide goes out to all the students at City College, Columbia University, to the hospitals. And so we want to see if we can also do a similar project in Washington Heights. We also have a website. It's just a way to promote the businesses in the area.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, go ahead.
Are you coming to the Washington Heights Chamber of Commerce breakfast on Thursday?
Yes, I am.
I'll see you there. I will be there.
And that's something that I told Jackie that we can do. I would be more than happy to help them create something similar, but like what we have done with
I'm on the board.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the board with Jackie I know Jackie works with you. She loves you.
Yes, she does. We do. We work together.
You should come too.
You should come too, Angelina, to the
So. Downstairs on the second floor, Thursday, 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
I'll be there.
Can't this
awesome.
Thursday, but thank you.
Thank you again, Kenya. Thank you so much, Angelina. I look forward
My
to
pleasure.
also the document just so we can take a look at it.
Yes.
And yeah, we'll talk tomorrow some more.
Okay.
That's good. So just moving along in our agenda, that was a great discussion. I'm sorry it was so lengthy, but it's important that we get through this. We have someone else on our agenda today. Mr. Anthony Washington, is he here? Mr. Anthony Washington, he was there, but he is no longer here. Okay. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
That's gonna real.
Yeah. This it's going long because what I knew it was gonna be this long, because it was two big topics. But I do have a business here. Please come up, introduce yourself. Just to tell you what we do. First of all, I want to thank you for your patience. We just had two big topics talking today, and we're here to help you. Right? Any resources that we can offer. I know you're a business owner opening up your new shop, so tell us your name for the record and what you need help with.
Well, my name is Fulton Morel.
Could you spell your name? I'm sorry.
JUSTL, Morel, M-O-R-E-L. I went to school up here. This is my district up here too, so I went to school. I was raised up here. I'm opening up a store right here on 176 and Second, and Senate. The old Rite Aid, I probably know the area. A couple of blocks from here.
You said it's in what street is it? Is it?
It's right in the corner of 162nd and Senate.
162nd.
No.
Associated with one.
Okay.
Since I was raised in the community, I didn't know the source was here. I'm going to open this Friday. And one of my biggest problems right now is I have a vendor right in the corner of the store. A food vendor. Yeah. And I don't want him to go out of business. I just need help. You guys help me out move even to the next corner across the street. Because I know he's making a living and listen, we are here. The sun comes out for everybody.
Yeah.
But I need you guys' help when it comes to that.
Okay.
Also, I want to see if I can get unloading zone for trucks, like from 7 o'clock in the morning to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so I can load my trucks. I'm looking for a permit for that if possible also.
Okay.
I know that takes a little time, but that's one of the little things that I really need you guys help, and I'm thinking jobs for the community. I was, I'm gonna help you guys, work with you guys, whatever you guys on my side.
So the permit is for what exactly? So
well, I applied for a permit for my stuff outside. I went to the office in Queens, what's last month. Still have that spot. But I'm going to open this Friday already. And I want to see if I can put some stuff outside, even if I don't have a permit yet. But I have a vendor right in front of my store. Completely.
Have you asked them to move?
I did.
What did he say?
what did they say? Yeah.
They They don't say I don't speak English. That's what the answer I get from them.
So this story, is this where the
The writings used to be at,
yeah, I'm trying to, yeah.
it's right, it has 2050 Amsterdam Avenue.
What's the exact address? What's the your exact address? What is it?
33 Senate.
Okay.
I think
They do?
well, they have a framework to be so proof or not, it could be across the street or any corner. That has to be right there. That's what I heard. But they just,
Yeah, I think it has,
Tricky thing, but they have that problem up on.
yeah, this issue is not your, by the way, yeah, it's not, this is a problem I spoke with the owner of Locksmith, who's also the owner of Chelas, and, you know, he was really frustrated with, like, food vendors, right? Like, food vendors could just shut up shop. He has to go through, I was there and he was dealing with fire violations, right? Like, and he has to deal with that, right? While people outside sending shish kebabs, set up shop on an open barbecue, and they can sell whatever they want without any violations. So it hurts him. And I'm pretty sure in the same breath that the fruit vendors will hurt you, right? No license, they're selling fruits. Okay, so you're looking for a permit to for the loading dock as well, right?
Have you spoken to the 33rd precinct?
I think,
What they said?
they told me to go for 5 permit. They cannot do anything about it. Outside I had to. That was the answer they say, and I say shocked when they asked me, when I had their answer from one of the officers. I mean, I was surprised. I just walked out. I didn't say, I just walked out.
So the business is named Associated.
Associated Supermarket.
As a supermarket.
Yes, it's a change. Yeah, it's a change. It's a big change.
No,
This
yeah.
stripes, it's a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We also have another van out, Spotted Seafood headquarters. We're
Okay.
doing some other banners. But this one we're gonna open as associated.
As an associated.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 10,000. It's a pretty good size store.
And you're hiring local people.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Well, we cater for the community. We have about, this is our nice stores. We have another one on 147th Street in Harlem and 8th Avenue, 7th Avenue. And we have a couple in the Bronx also.
And you're the owner?
I'm part of the owners, yes.
What's your name?
Mine,
Jay Morrell.
Jay Murray, Justin Morrell,
Okay.
USTO Morrell.
Okay.
So what I'll do is I can usually who enforces this is New York Sanitation. Sanitation will go and this is why we need a bid, right? Like this is part of what they do. Like they'll go and they'll call sanitation police and they'll be able to ticket them and remove the produce. However, it's tricky because I don't know if they have a permit, right? Now, if they have a permit, it's going to be hard. I don't know how easy it would be to move them. It would just have to be a conversation. I'll reach out to them. I'll go visit them, see if, I can talk to them. And then what I'll do is I'll have the office reach out to the respective agencies that can enforce this. Depending on what my conversation is with them. Now at the committee, do you guys know, who does the enforcement aspect in terms of like the permit aspect of that? Like who gives the permit out for that?
Just saying sanitation.
Yeah, sanitation enforces it.
It's gotta be some.
Sanitation. Couple of times.
And what did they say?
It's still not have a response.
But the problem is, if they have a permit to bid there, usually the permits specify exactly where they can be located. So those things get pretty specific, and if that be the case, then it becomes
Our district manager.
Yeah, that's what I'm. The office. This is just a committee, right? A committee of. The office is there. Okay. What did they tell you? Okay. So they're aware. So I'm gonna have I'll have a meeting with Ebenezer,
to say the district manager, what the district, cabinet.
With a meeting, right?
Yeah, they'll probably have
Every
some.
month they get together with the different agencies. Ebenezer, who's the district manager, brings its kind of complaint questions to them.
To the agencies.
The agency, DOT, you name it, sanitation, NPA, they never show up, but, you know, there's.
Like,
Yeah.
what I did today was I took when I came in yesterday, the secretary would give me a website, an email.
Okay.
Yeah, and what I did is I took a lot of pictures of the front of the store and I emailed.
Okay, good.
Good, so email that to them. What I'm gonna do is after tomorrow, once you send that email, I'll sit down and talk to Ebenezer, which is our district manager, to make sure that he brings it up in his monthly district cabinet meeting to the agency that's supposed to enforce that, which is supposed to be sanitation, and to investigate further if they have permits. I'll commit to you that I'm gonna go and check out if they have their permits. I'm asked nicely because they could tell me to, F off.
I appreciate, I mean.
Yeah.
Timeline.
No, I understand. Listen,
Well, they have to go, let me show you a picture, so you can see.
yeah, I just looked at the Google map and they have like a.
I'm gonna show you, I'm just going to show you a picture of the front of the store. Okay, this is the front of the store.
Oh,
This is
wow.
my entrance. This is where they are.
That looks nice.
This is my door right here.
Nice.
And they have
This whole.
the whole section.
Oh, wow. And this section is where you're going to put your fruit stand
Yeah.
outside.
Yeah, you see my door and they're blocking the whole thing. You see where they are? See, I took different pictures.
Oh, so that's like 30 feet.
They got more than 30
Oh,
feet.
my God, okay.
They got
Yeah.
more, they got more than 30 feet.
It's.
That's
That's
not,
They got
that's
more
not
than 30.
small.
That's crazy.
That's that's a big deal. That's a whole supermarket.
Yeah.
I'm on the
And
corner.
they're not paying
They-
rent.
see, This is the corner of the building and they are all the way here. All the way.
You know how that works, don't you? If you're a veteran, you get a license.
They take it-
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, they, for that for food vending too.
They block it.
Yeah, for food carts.
This morning, I had 2 trailers parked outside doing the stuff because I'm gonna open on Friday.
Right.
I couldn't put my stuff outside
Oh,
because they're blocking the whole sidewalk completely.
okay.
And the 33rd precinct wouldn't help.
They couldn't do anything about it. They said they couldn't do anything.
Okay.
That was the answer that I got from them. I just walked out. I mean, what can I do? They could, I mean, I was expecting an answer, but it was something. I said, listen, we're just gonna go over there and take a look and see what we could do. It was something. It's not gonna do.
I suspect those guys they may well have some kind of license either.
We would have
That's a
to,
pretty extensive structure. You
yeah.
can't just put up a structure like that in the city.
So this is the thing that
Well, in other parts of our neighborhood, there's people that get shut down and reopen the next day. That sanitation comes, throws your stuff away, and they have similar structures,
And this one is more durable. It's been there for like.
There's something like that right by TD Bank on 158.
They have a license.
I
But they
heard
block the whole
that.
sidewalk.
I
Yeah,
don't know if it's true or not, that this big size stuff, they don't allow on the street.
yeah, I think
I heard there's only one table that they put out outside.
also, yeah, that's another thing is they might have a license, but to what degree? Right?
But if they don't have a license and you approach them with this kind of question, they'll
No.
probably flee.
Yeah.
When they
Yeah.
come back the next day and the next day, then this is America. They
Because
probably won't.
I went up to the guy that's there. And I told him, listen, I don't want you to go. I just want you to move from front of the store or across the street. You got two, three corners on the side. Just go there. Listen, you make it on it. I don't want. Continue making a living.
Yeah. This is my,
Yeah,
this.
I suspect they have some
Yeah, I suspect they also have
kind
a,
of right to be there.
right, and we want to know what agency, applies these permits, and if they're following the regulations of those permits, because that's a big structure.
It's a big structure. I mean,
And maybe they do, and maybe that's something now that you and him have to work out, right? Because I have to set up the expectations. There could be an expectation here that, or a reality that he can legally be there, right? And that's something that the board can't do, and
But let me ask you something.
Yeah.
How can okay, I know there's people into the city,
like,
okay? But how can they get a a permit just to be in one spot. Let's say if a business comes to open it in there,
Hmm.
you know, and we're paying high taxes, everything's high in the city. How come they cannot remove them to go somewhere else so they get owner of the property or the landlord or anything?
They may relook at them if you make a big stink of it.
Yeah, you know, that's something that,
Surprised if they don't have a license.
you know, if they don't have a license, then I don't think the city would be like, okay, there's a supermarket that came established. You've been here for 5 years, we have to remove you because the supermarket's there. Now, I don't know what the regulation is. Maybe there is aspects to that in the regulations, but we don't know. But we'll find out.
There's another thing too, because you're responsible for cleaning the sidewalk.
Exactly.
And that's the side.
100%.
So if they make a mess and leave a mess and you get a fine, what are you gonna do about that?
Pay the fine. I have to pay.
So have you
So
spoken to your landlord?
Yes, we did. Today was I was talking to him about that.
What did he say?
No, he said if he tried to do, like, you know, I told him that I was having a meeting with you guys tonight, that I was gonna come over, and he told me, listen, just call the meeting. If anything, we start to sign some kind of letter, tell them that, you know, they have to move from in front of my property, okay? To see what we can do to remove
The
the
landlord
property.
doesn't wanna do anything.
Well, since the sidewalk is not belongs to him.
Yes, it does. So now that, well,
That's
I know, in my building,
Mhm.
we own the sidewalk. Now, listen, DOT owns the sidewalk, but we have to fix it and clean it.
Right, right.
So it's sort of like catch-22. The landlord has to be responsible for the sidewalk, which is you.
Exactly.
And if they mess up the sidewalk, then you pay the fine and the landlord is not gonna pay the fine.
Correct.
So it's wacko.
Yeah, it's tricky.
We paid $400,000 to fix our sidewalk, you know,
That's
all around
crazy.
our
Yeah,
building.
we own some property too, and it's the same thing. We are responsible for the sidewalk.
Yeah.
If we don't pay for the sidewalk, the city will, I mean, if the inspector comes to inspect the sidewalk,
Mhm.
and they told them, listen, you have to fix this, and that, if you don't fix it, we'll get the fine, so we have to fix it no matter
We
what.
have a triple net lease, right? Yeah, so they pay for all the city service. Yeah. And the taxes go up, he pays for them.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
oh, yeah.
Okay, so I guess our next order of business for us to talk to the district manager. And then find out what licenses there is. What I would want from you is your maybe after the meeting, give me your name, obviously your name, your number, and your email. Do you have like a business card?
No, I don't know.
Okay, yeah, I'll get that from you. Yeah, write it up. And then I will email you the results of my conversation with the district manager and what I was able to find out on who exactly gives out these permits.
All right.
All right,
Because I tell you, I'm ready to open and I'm just gonna have a store opening this week,
mhm,
but next week I'm doing a lot of things for next week.
Gotcha.
A lot.
I got you.
So,
Your suppliers come and they give away free food and stuff like that.
well, we don't get like they used to, surprise stuff, free stuff anymore, because things are so high.
Yeah.
But we still,
You mean you don't give it eggs?
I can't buy eggs.
I imagine. I can only imagine. Yeah.
They're ridiculous.
I know.
They're ridiculous.
We all know that.
And you said Justin, right? Justo.
Yeah.
Busto. Busto, un placer. Thank you so much for bringing your concerns. We will follow up with you. Yeah, we'll follow up with you.
I'm here with you guys, I mean, what other community, whatever you guys need from us, help, if you
Yeah.
come and see us, we'll take care of that.
For sure. Thank you. And just to move our agenda along, do we have any other new business? Any old business?
No.
Any announcements? Okay.
Thursday.
Thursday, tomorrow, not tomorrow, Thursday. I'll be there.
It's gonna be packed.
Oh, really?
Why? Because a lot of people wanna come.
Yeah. I'll be there. Can I get a motion? I got a motion from Radia to end today's meeting. Meeting's adjourned. It's 9:18. Thank you so much.